in this video we're going to be looking at refinements and how we can refine areas down in order to make our supply demand level a little bit smaller and then take a more specific entry. So here, as you can see on the daily, we've got this supply level here. So already we've refined from this buy to sell down to this last candle here. And obviously anything within this buy to sell range we need to be aware of. So you can mark up these candles as well here because they're buy to sell wicks. So we've got two areas within this whole buy to sell range. And then if we go down to the 4 hour, which is what we can refine the daily down to, you can see this last candle in here, which is the 4 hour candle, which we can refine to. And then we also have this bullish candle here for these buy to sell wicks, but that's already refined enough, so that would be over refining for me. So I'd leave those daily buy to sell wicks marked, but not mark this candle here. So we drag that across, and as you can see in this situation, price came to the buy to sell wicks, so it came to these here. So like I said, anywhere within this buy to sell range would be fine. Ideally this last candle. So if we delete this, you can see it just tapped into this last candle and then fell off. And if we're looking at this range here, so we mark up, we've got this buy to sell range. So buy to sell, we can refine it down to this last candle, and then we can look inside there on the 4 hour to see, is there anything in here that looks clean, anything that's engulfed. And we have this last supply candle, so that'd be my refinement there. But what I'd do is also include this wick here, as this wick came above this supply. Okay, back on the daily. So we then came down and we have this buy to sell range, which is our supply. And then we can then refine it down to this last supply candle here, this last buy candle before the sell. And prices came perfectly back into there. On the 4 hour, you could probably refine it to this candle here, which is the last bullish candle before the sell-off. And as you can see, price came back into there. Okay, back on the daily, we then have this buy to sell range just here. So then we can refine it down to the last bullish candle like so. And that hasn't been tapped into yet, so that's a unmitigated supply. Okay, what prices came into here, you can see, is these wicks. So after breaking out of this range here, prices came back into these wicks, and like I said, anything within this buy to sell range, price could come back into. So if we look on the 4 hour, you can see that this 4 hour buy to sell range is what price came back into. There's nothing specific here, and as we know, price doesn't have to come all the way back into the refinement. So ideally this would be my 4 hour refinement for this, but prices came back into the open of this range and then dropped off. Okay, and we can do the same for the 15 minute. So if we look at some examples from, say, down here. Okay, so what you can see is we have this range here, which is our demand range. So it's our sell to buy range, which we can refine down to the last candle here, as this candle came lower than this candle. So that's the extreme in this situation. Play price on. So we've now broken out of this range and we have this sell to buy range, which we can refine down to this last candle here, which is the lowest candle in this whole range. So that'd be my refinement there. Okay. So we then wicked below, came back up, and without looking at any structure at the minute, so we came into this, so you could have this supply here, which I'd refine to this candle here. And obviously what's happened is we came up here and we came off of this sell to buy range, and the refinement for me would be this candle. So as you can see, we just missed that, and this came off of this inside bar here. So if price came into here and then started to show our entry model, then I'd be looking to still buy off of this, because it's within our whole range here. But as you can see, sometimes price doesn't come back into the refinements, which is fine. And then after coming into this whole range here, price is pushed up, so we then have this sell range here. So this whole sell to buy, which we refine down to this candle, which is our demand. And looking over here, let's go back to the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour here, we can see we swept below this, and we have this large wick here which swept liquidity. So this swept liquidity from this high, and we're going to talk about liquidity in the next section, so stay tuned for that. So prices came back into here. Can we refine this wick down? We can refine it to, I'd say, this last candle here, as this candle came higher than this one, so this would be my refinement for that. But what we need to be aware of is also the whole wick, because it could come to anywhere within this wick, 50%, or even just the open. So what I like to do is mark the open here. So I mark the whole range, or the whole candle on the 4 hour, and I mark it as this outlined box. So if price comes into here and then gives our entry model, then I know that shorts could be in play. Depending on the area, I'll either wait for extra confirmation, or I'll just take the trade. It depends on different scenarios, different situations. Okay, so as you can see, we came up into here and we have this whole range here, which is our supply range. We can then refine that down to this candle here. Okay, so price is tapped in and then came off. We still have this demand down here, which price can trade into, or it could come higher. And as you can see, prices came into our refinement, and it looks like this is some sort of news because of the massive spike, but it came into our refinement here, came down, and it's tapped into our sell to buy range. So like I said, you could leave this whole demand range marked and then include the refinement in there. So what you could do is include this refinement like so, and you can have an alert at the open here. So when price comes into this open, what you're looking for is your entry model, and then obviously have alert here as well. It's entirely up to you, and it depends on the size of the range as well. So if it's a range like this, it's not too big, so it's fine to do. If the range is massive, then obviously you want to have it more refined, so you could refine it down to something like this. But yeah, it just takes trial and error to see what you're looking for and where price comes into, basically. So here you can see we've tapped into this supply here, which is on the 4 hour. And on the 15 minute, we're going to leave this 4 hour marked. And as you can see, this whole buy to sell range, there's this last buy candle, which comes up the highest. But price doesn't make it all the way up there. It taps into the open of the 4 hour and then comes down. So after coming down, we have this last candle here on the 15 minute, which is our supply. So after coming down, you can see we tapped into this demand here, pulled back and then broke down. So I'd have this candle marked here, as you can see, we came up, we've got this sell to buy range, which we can refine down to this candle here, which is our last sell candle in this range. Okay, so we came off of this supply candle here, came down and broken below this demand. So then we could see shorts from here, which is the last sell candle, the last buy candle in this whole sell range, buy to sell, sorry. Okay, so we came off of there, and this came into this range here, which we then refined down to this last candle. So as you can see, it's about marking the ranges and literally just refining it to a last candle, or it depends, if there's inducement above the decisional, then we'll look to refine that as well. One thing to be aware of is, obviously, as you can see in these examples, you mark the whole 4 hour, but price doesn't come all the way back into here. So it's fine to look for an entry off of the 4 hour if you get your entry model, because we use the higher time frame entries. It's not as if we're using 1 minute entries and looking for 30 different entries within that 4 hour, which could happen. We have a less probability of getting fake outs using our higher time frame entries, which benefits us a lot. And again, here you can see we have this buy to sell range here. And what happens is we have this last supply candle, and we also have these buy to sell wicks, and prices came just into the buy to sell wicks, which is within this whole range, and then shot down. So always be aware of the wicks within the range. So you have this whole buy to sell range, and it's about looking from where the buy came from before the sell. Or you could say it's even this, and then you could refine it to this. And you could even refine it to the wick here. The wick is massive and it swept this liquidity. So there will be different times where you need to use different refinements. Here you have this range here, and then we can refine it to this candle. But also within the range we do have these wicks here, and it looks like prices came into something else. So it came into this hourly candle here. Okay, and you can use different time frames, so you can use any time frame to refine your supply demand, but what I like to do is stay above the 15 minute. So I won't go to the 10 minutes to refine something, I'll stay above the 15 minute, and this stops me from over refining. So for example, if something's not clean on the 15 minute, what I'll do is I'll go up to the 20 minute, I'll go up to the 30 minute, and then so on, 45 minute, hourly. And I don't mind if it's a little bit larger range, I don't need to over refine, because we're using higher time frame entry models. We can refine it to the hourly and then still catch our entry, and it might actually benefit us and help us be in more moves. It just depends on, obviously, what price is doing that day. So yeah, have a practice of this and don't overcomplicate things. And obviously, like I said, leave the higher time frame marked as well, and so you can be aware of what price is doing, and hopefully you won't miss any moves. So thanks for watching.